And hello, hello, hello. Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is Dr. Dwain Woode, and I am now 60 hours into this week's fast. That's right, 60 hours. And I'm here with you because we are going to do a complete review of fasting. We're going to talk about how to prepare for a fast, how to get through the fast, and of course, how to break the fast. In fact, we're going to break the fast, my fast, right here on the show with you as we move through this space. Welcome, wherever you are joining us from, whether it's on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, well, not TikTok, Facebook, and of course here on YouTube. Welcome to the space, because I am excited that you are here joining me. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're living a limitless life, and limitless living says that we are doing whatever we need to do to make sure that we are healthy metabolically. We'll talk more about that here in just a minute. If you've joined us before, you know how we do. We've got some things we're going to take a look at here in just a minute. I've got my monitors. I got my... Well, let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's do that. So I've got here my Keto Mojo and my Contour monitor, which will look at blood sugars in a minute. Right below me, that is my Dexcom Clarity Report, so you can see what my blood sugars have been. And then, of course, we'll go through and do our check-in. We'll go through and talk about fasting, and we'll go through that process. And first thing I want to do is, as we get into the show, we're going to eat something, because I want to see where my blood sugars are and what happens to them as we get to the end of the show. So we're going to do that here in just a minute. But let's talk about where I am. Let's talk about what space we're in, why are we doing what we're doing. Here on the planet, there are over 1 billion people that have metabolic disease. Over 1 billion. Those numbers, that 1 billion, is really just pre-diabetes and diabetes. That doesn't even include all the people that have heart disease, at risk for stroke, who have peripheral artery disease, fatty liver, obesity, metabolic syndrome, and on and on and on and on. And so our goal is, how do we reverse that process? In particular, we're talking about how do we reverse diabetes. We're talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to get off their medications, who want to put their disease process in remission. Here's the thing. Here's the beauty of this. Anytime we look at diabetes and we look at metabolic disease, they are spectrums. They are diseases along the spectrum that leads ultimately to the complications. So anything that we do for diabetes, and we're talking about reversing diabetes, also helps and works for people who have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, and we can go down the road. But the things that we're doing is a method for improving overall. On our show, Dwain Woode MD Live, we are walking through the path of limitless living. That's what you see on the screen. That's what we do. And we're using a very important blueprint called the Health Action Plan, the Limitless Living Health Action Plan, to give you the tools that you need, a blueprint. If I follow these, if I go along this path, if I'm following this will help me improve all of those disease processes. And that's what you caught us here now doing. On the main show, we're walking through that pathway. And then on our check-ins, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for now, what we're doing is we are talking about how the tools, the Health Action Plan, how those tools are implemented and what benefit they bring to us. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars, because I want to get that started so I can then eat. We're going to break the fast right here. So we're going to talk about breaking the fast first, and then we'll come back and talk about starting the fast and getting through the fast. So let's take a look at blood sugars. And right now, my blood sugar is 76, and you'll see right there, that's close to right about there, is what we're looking at. And you'll see that the line, that squiggly red line, and then there's a break, and then the squiggly white line. So the break that you see there is when my sensor went out, so I had to change it. But the squiggly red line is blood sugars that are below 70, and then the squiggly white line is blood sugars that are right above 70. Let's take a look at my Dexcom, because this allows us to actually scroll through and see what those blood sugars are. And if I put my finger on there, we can actually see what those numbers have been. Early in the day, low 70s and 80s, 70s and 80s. And if you watched our live last night, our check-in, you know, my son and I are doing some weightlifting, and so that spike that you see right there from the 70s, well, from the 101s up to was that 107? Sorry, from 80s up to 107. That is a result of weight training. So when you lift weights, your blood sugar actually goes up, and so now we're in the low 100s. If I go backwards, right, over the last 24 hours, we'll see we've been kind of riding in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and then of course here at the end was when we had that spike. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and let's now take a look at my monitors, because I've got a Keto Mojo and I've got a Contour, which you'll see there on the screen. Let's go ahead and grab. Let's do this one. Let's go ahead and grab a strip. We need a blue one, which is the ketone, and then we need a brown one, which let me grab. Okay, we'll grab that one. So a brown one for blood sugar. Get a Lancet out of here. I think that's the last one in there. I'll have to get some more, but that's okay. And let's get a strip for. Let's get a strip for the Contour. All right, so we get that in here. All right, and once again, let me back up over here so you recall what the number is for the blood sugar here on the Freestyle Libre. Freestyle Libre. All right, so let's go back over here, and so here is. There we are. Let's go ahead and I'm going to get these opened. I'll get this one first. This is the test strip for blood sugar for the Keto Mojo. And what do you think my ketones are going to be? Right? What do you think my ketones are going to be? It's right at about 60 plus hours. Okay, I also opened this one just to have it on the side. And let's go ahead and grab, this is our Lancet. You see my needle right there. And just pick a finger. I don't use the Lancing device. That's just a personal thing for me. I think it takes too long to get it out, put it in, and I just take the Lancet and hopefully I get a good brisk bleed right there. A good drop. And get that started. And then over to the Contour, get that started. And then I'll have to keep a drop here for the ketone strip. And so 54 is what you see here. 64 is what you see on the Contour, and then 75. Look at that. This easily could be 55, 65, 75. So they're about 10 points different from each other. Okay, let's go ahead and grab this one out. And what do you think my ketones are going to be? Drop that in the comments if you think, with a guess. What do you think it's going to be? 60 hours. Let's get that drop of blood on. All right, get that started. All right, and so 60 hours of fasting, 64, and 2.2. Look at that, so 2.2. So remember, when we talk about ketones, and let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to pull it up in the app. When we talk about ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 are considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. So let me go ahead and do this. We're syncing and pull that data in so we can see that here. And there we are. Awesome. Okay, so let's get that back. So let's see, 2.2 is what the ketones are. You see that there with a blood sugar of 54. And people ask me well, not all the time, but frequently ask me, what does the 1.3, that big number, what does that mean? And that is what's called the glucoketo index. The glucoketo index. And it is the ratio of the glucose to ketones. So when we talk about, let's go through some of the numbers. So the glucose, right, that's there, we actually want that to be low. Right, that's a weird thing to say when it talks about blood sugar. But as we're fasting, during the fast, particularly if you're doing extended fasting, one of the things you want to happen is you want the glucose to go down, because if the glucose goes down, that means that the body is burning it up, and it will eventually have to switch over to burning carbohydrates. Okay, so you want the glucose to be low. Because the glucose is low, the body's going to burn fat to convert to ketones, and so we want the ketones to be high. So we want low sugar, high ketones. And if you take the ratio of a glucose, a small number, to ketones, which is a big number, then you get a small glucose-keto index. So low sugar, high ketones with a glucose-keto index that's low, that gives us good numbers, right? And the glucose-keto index is simply a ratio of glucose to ketones. Glucose to ketones, glucose-keto index. Now, if you take these numbers, you take glucose 54 divided by 2.2, you don't actually get 1.3. So the question is, where does that come from? Well, it's you have to convert the glucose to international units. And let's go over there. Let me grab my calculator. So let's get the number first. So 54 and 2.2. Let's get my calculator out. And there we are. Okay. So what we're going to do is the 54 is the blood sugar, and that has to be converted to international units, and we divide that by 18 to convert it. Right? So 3 divided by 2.2 gives us that 1.3. That's where that number comes from. Right? So that's that 1.3 is a ratio of glucose to ketone, but once we've converted it. Right? So that's how that happens. So when we're talking about ketosis, when we're talking about people who are wanting to lose weight because their blood sugar, because they're fat burning, right? In ketosis, we want the ketones to be 0.5 or higher. 0.5 or higher. That's usually the recommendation. Okay. All right. So now let's hop over and let's take a look at my actual graphs. And this is my Dexcom Clarity report. And right now you see my estimated A1C, which is the glucose management indicator. This guy right here is 6.3. So if I were to get an A1C, it should approximate that. Okay. Now we can't call it an A1C because it's a calculated number, but it should approximate that. I am in target 95% of the time, which you see there, and my target is anywhere from 70 to 180. Now, when I see patients in the office, I tell them I don't want their blood sugars to be 70, 180, because if you look at the graph, it says you can be in target and still have a blood sugar of 180, right? But we know 180 is not a good number. So we want the blood sugars, I usually tell people between 100 and 120 is where we want your numbers to be. If you can keep it there all the time, then you will get an A1C that is decent. So on average, if I have an average blood sugar of 100, my A1C is about 5. If I have an average blood sugar of 125, A1C is about 6. And for each point in the A1C that I go up, I add 25 to the average blood sugar. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So so my average right now is 124. That's over the last 14 days. If I go back and do a 90-day average, you'll see 121 is what the average is, and my glucose-keto index is 6.2, in range 87% of the time, with a range being between 70 to 180. Right? So, and then let's go back and take a look at the actual daily graphs. And so here is where we are right now, 95. And if we scroll back. So right here is where I started exercise. We went from 80 to 111. And then during the course of this afternoon, we did go down below 70 and actually dipped down to about 40 some. Now, here's a question. If I'm fasting, and at that time we were over 24 hours, or over 48 hours, 48, 45, 48, 49, 50. We're a little over 50, 51, 52 hours maybe. So if I fasted for that long and my blood sugar was 47, how then did it come back up without eating? That's an important one, right? So a lot of people say that. They say, well, why is your blood sugar not 0? Because you're not eating. Well, the body, as it burns ketones or burns fat to convert it to ketones, it's breaking up what are called triglycerides, right? Triglycerides. So three fatty acids attached to what's called a glycerol backbone. Well, when it breaks the fat down, it breaks those things apart, and the three parts, right, the fatty acids, they go off to do some other stuff, but the glycerol backbone can actually be turned into sugar. So even though you're not eating sugar, your body still has the capacity, the ability to make sugar from other things that are in your body, and it can make it from fat cell, from the fat that comes when it's breaking it down. Okay. All right, so that's what my blood sugar has been doing today. And if you followed us over the last couple of days, you know that there was an error in my continuous monitor. So these numbers that you see here were about 100 points higher than what my Libre was showing. And so I said, well, this doesn't make any sense. And so we went in, we checked the blood sugar with a meter finger stick. We got some other numbers, and right here I changed my sensor. So this is 1001. When I changed it, it was 198, and then 30 minutes later, 1032. Once I had my new sensor on and the sensor warmed up, then it was 93. Right. So see that difference within that half an hour. The sensor said, okay, no, this is not a real number. And so when I look back over the course of let's see, that was 12, so 9 hours, and then back into the day before, you'll see that those numbers were much higher than what are normal for me, and so that was because of the bad sensor. If I scroll back forwards, let's go to Sunday, and so this Sunday we had a baby shower, so I went to baby shower, and right here I ate meatballs, barbecue meatballs, and that spiked it up from 120s up to 180s. Some residual into the next morning, and then on Monday, let's see, what did I have on Monday? Oh, pizza. So pizza, we were 129 at, let's see, what time is that? 12:51, and ate the pizza, and at 1:51, so 1 hour later, then my blood sugar went from a 125 up to 204, right? So over about 75 points maybe, and then started coming back down. So let's see if we can find 2 hours after I finish eating. So let's assume that this is where I finished eating, right here. Okay, so that's 1 hour, and then let's go 251 would be where we need to be. Let's see, that was 151. Yeah, 251 is where we need to be. So 251, blood sugar was 173. So that's in keeping with what we tell people, that blood sugar should be by 2 hours below 200, which it is. And then it took, let's see, how long does it take to get back down into the 120s? Let's see, let's get so let's say 122. So right here, right? So from 7 o'clock, almost 7 o'clock, and we were 125 at, let's call that 1 o'clock. So that took 6 hours, right? So from the time I ate something to it going up to the time it's back down took about 8 hours. But within 2 hours, we were below 200 and really into the 20s. Into the 20s, maybe 5 hours, 4 hours, 45 minutes. Okay, so I wanted to show you that because I want you to understand what happens to blood sugars as we are eating and as we eat different things. This is a great example of several things. So number one, the breakdown of triglycerides, right, and getting that blood sugar back up is also an indication of here's an error in with the CGM, and then what different foods do to our bodies, and what is the time frame within which we want to look at those, right? So I think that was a good example there. All right, the other thing that I want to show is here is my Fit Index, and this is just the app that I use to track my weight. It pairs with my scale, and everything comes in. And so blood sugar, it's not blood sugar, but weight 186. And there are several parameters that I look at. I tell people I've kind of gamified this. All right, so for me, so I look at the weight, and I, when I advise in the office my clients, what I want them to do is I want to be aware of the weight, because that's what the scale does. But it also sends a signal through your body, and it gets all these other parameters. And these parameters now allow us to adjust and change what we do in terms of our behavior, what we're eating, what we're drinking, what we're sleeping. And by adjusting those things, we change these various parameters, and ultimately that affects the weight. So, as an example, when I started, let's look at the BMI. So BMI, and this usually starts in the red. So when I started my BMI, it was in the red. And I've been working to get that into the amber, and then the green, and then ultimately is going to be into the blue. If I go to another one of these, let's see, what do we got? Okay, look at body fat. So we were in the red, right? So now we're in the light green. The goal is going to be to get in further into the darker green and to the, what's that, forest green, and then hopefully down into the blue, right? We'll see. So, but the point is, my goal was to get them all out of the red. So yay, got them. Now the goal, okay, let's get them all out of the amber. And then once we get them all out of the amber, let's move to whatever the next color is going to be. So this is a great way for you to be making changes in your behavior. For instance, if this thing tells me, let's see, which is one? How about body water? Right? So body water, this one actually goes in the opposite. So if I'm looking at this and it was in the blue, then I started drinking, and then it begins to move. So I get to see that. I get to see what my behavior actually does to blood sugars and to weight and so forth. Right? This one doesn't show weight, blood sugar, but it shows weight and all the other parameters. But that's, as I said, a great way to track those. And then the final thing I want to show you here is if we look at what's been going on with my weight. You recall my story that we were, over 85 pounds, 287 to be exact. And here in this app, when I started tracking with this app, it was 260 was the highest. And so 260, and we're down now to 186. Okay, so 60 points, 60 plus 14, so 74. In this tracking. And this is a testament to, well, the point I wanted to make here is if you look at the graphs, you'll see that it's not straight, it's not linear, it doesn't just go down, right? So there are fluctuations up and down, but the general trend is on the down slope. Okay, so when we're here and we go down, slide up, down, slide up, down, right. So there's this fluctuation. So as you're looking at your weight, if you are seeing some fluctuations, right, that is a normal course of what you will see. The goal is not that it stays in that direction in a perfect slope, but that the general trend is in the down direction. And all of these things that we're doing are really just side effects. Let's go back over here. These are just side effects of the health action plan that we're putting in place, because we're doing the things that we need to do to be successful in our health, and fasting is one of those. Okay? All right, so let's get into our conversation about fasting. And let's see. Let's hop over here really quickly. So fasting, what are we doing? Why are we fasting? What is the plan? What is going on? Okay, so that's what you want to know. So let me just do one thing here really quickly. All right, so fasting. What is our plan for fasting? Why are we fasting? And what is the big deal? So we're fasting because during the fast, we are hitting the 3 pillars of reversing diabetes. That is decreasing insulin, suppressing appetite, and reducing sugar. That's the goal. Reversing diabetes. The interesting thing is that as we do that, as we follow that pathway for reversing diabetes, we also get the benefit of all the other metabolic diseases improving. Okay, so that's why we're fasting. And so what I want to do now is, so I'm 60 plus hours into this week's fast, and we're going to break the fast right here because I wanted to see what the blood sugars are. I should have eaten this earlier, but here it is. All right, so I have, and let's hop over here. I have a salad that I got from the cafeteria at work. And this salad and I doctored it up a little bit. So it has lettuce, romaine lettuce. It has some spinach down under there. It's got some cherry tomatoes. I've got some onions. Let's see. Let's pull this off for a second. There we go. Oh. I've got some onions, some red onions. What else? I've got some broccoli. And this stuff that you see here, this is chicken. And this is jerk chicken that I created, that I made. And you guys have seen me or heard me talk about my jerk chicken before. So let's go ahead. And so as I'm eating, and then ranch dressing. And then, of course, it has cheese. And it also has, what else? It has eggs. Some boiled eggs that I put in there. And those really are just for the protein. Okay? Of the things that are in here, you've probably heard me say that of the things that are in this salad, the thing that's probably going to spike my blood sugar the most are those cherry tomatoes. So let's go ahead and... First meal in over 60 hours now. And that is delicious, y'all. I had some of the jerk chicken. It also has, let's see, what did I have? I also have some banana peppers, a couple of slices of cucumber. So when we talk about fasting, I talk about 3 different stages of fasting. Getting into the fast, or preparing for the fast, getting through the fast, actually fasting, and then breaking the fast. Okay? And right now we're breaking the fast, so let's go ahead and talk about breaking the fast. When you're breaking the fast, the important thing to remember is that you don't want to undo all the benefits that you got during the fast. What does that mean? During the fast, your body is becoming insulin sensitive. Blood sugars are going down. Insulin is dropping. The body is going over to burn fat, converting it to ketones. Metabolically, you're improving and you're getting weight loss and all the other things, right? Well, if you come out of the fast and you begin eating highly processed, high carb food, what's going to happen is that your body's blood sugar is going to go up. When the blood sugar goes up, then your insulin has to come out. And when insulin comes out, we know insulin is the hormone that causes biggest dysregulation. When insulin comes out, it makes you hungry, so you have cravings. And you're going to start eating a lot more processed high carb stuff, because when we crave, we don't really crave broccoli, right? We crave those other things. So that's going to happen. And insulin is a growth factor. So insulin is going to signal your body to start storing. So you fasted, you lost some weight, blood sugars got better, and now you ate something that was super saturated with carbs and high processed sugar. And then now we get the spike and we put on weight, blood sugars go up, and our insulin sensitivity decreases, right? So the way you break the fast is very, 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 very important. And so here, let's do this one. Okay, so I'm showing you my phone screen. When I want to show you, okay, here we are. So when you break, so the reason that I use salad to break the fast is because the salad has carbs, right? Because everything right here and right now, except obviously for the chicken, doesn't have carb, but everything else does. But they're low glycemic index carbs. They won't cause a rapid spike in my blood sugar, which I don't want. Because anytime I get a rapid spike, that sets me up for having a poor outcome for my fasting. For the reasons I just talked about. Yo, this is so good. Okay, let's come back over here. So if you're out there, what have you recently broken a fast with? If you fast. Delicious, delicious. I also have some white onions in there. I tend to like the red onions in the salad, but I also like white onions. So, cause they're much stronger in terms of taste. But so good. I really packed this stuff in here. You should taste this. And the jerk chicken on top of it, this adds just that much, just that much more flavor. So I make jerk chicken usually every week. By the way, that's a staple for us here at our house. Jerk chicken and curry chicken every week. And then we usually use that in lots of different ways. Sometimes we take the jerk chicken and we cut it up. We make a sandwich out of it. Of course, you can put it on rice. You can eat it with vegetables. Delicious, delicious. Okay, we'll keep eating, but let's go ahead and talk about some recommendations for breaking a fast. So as I said, there are three main things that I talk about about the fast: preparing for the fast, getting in the fast, of course, and ending the fast. So we talk about breaking the fast. Important things, some important tips that I want you to remember. Number one, You want to monitor. One of the most important things whenever you are making changes, whenever you are trying to improve something, is being able to tell, is it working? Hydration. Those banana peppers were a little more tart than I thought. Is monitoring, right? So you want to make sure that you know what different things are doing to your body. For example, right now I'm monitoring blood sugar. So as I am eating, we will see what those blood sugars are. And that's how I've been able to pinpoint that the tomatoes that are in here are going to cause the biggest spike, because I know how that works. Now, that should make sense because they probably have the most readily available carbs. So that should make sense. But that's not the case for everyone. You may be out there and you eat tomatoes and nothing happens to your blood sugar. Like I have people who eat cheese and nuts and nothing happens to their blood sugar. When I eat cheese and nuts, I get a spike. Maybe not as big a spike as, of course, if I eat a cookie, but I still get a spike. So monitoring is important. Portion control. Often, it's not that we ate the wrong thing, is that we ate too much. Too much of the right thing. And so those blood sugars will spike. So so we've gotten used to eating much more than normal portions. In fact, if I'm honest, sometimes we'll go to a restaurant and they'll come to the table with my meal and it'll be like this little plate. Well, no, it's a big plate usually, with a little thing in the middle. And I'm like, well, what is this? Right? Because I'm paying for more than this. But that's because we've gotten used to portions being humongous. And in fact, a portion is likely a part of what they just gave you. Except at those restaurants where they give you a little bit. We went traveling several months ago. A couple months ago, I shouldn't say several. And we went to the restaurants. This was overseas, and they eat a lot less. So the portions are a lot smaller. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop here. Well, not right here, but in a minute. Because we wanna start tracking blood sugar. What do you think? A couple more tomatoes, maybe? Well, I won't eat the tomatoes because I know those are going to spike it up. I've already had a couple. If you've not had a meal after not eating for 56 hours, delicious. Delicious. I don't know if this is just good or just that I haven't eaten. But actually, isn't that the case? All right, listen to what I just said. I don't know if this is good or it's just that I haven't eaten. Isn't it amazing that we can actually reprogram our palates? That's what that means. It takes about 15 days for that to happen, to reprogram your palate. Okay. Let's put that over there. All right. So we're talking about breaking the fast. So number one, monitor. You want to make sure you're monitoring. Number two, portion control. So when you break the fast, make sure that you're not. Often people will have kind of a scarcity mindset, which is, man, I haven't eaten anything in the last 72 hours. So all the stuff that I didn't eat, I'm going to make up for it. I'm going to eat it now. Or, man, I'm getting ready to go into a fast of whatever length of time, so I better make sure I get some stuff before I get into the fast. Both of those thought processes can derail the fast. Because both of them, if you're thinking that way, what you end up doing is you end up eating more than you should. Because you're trying to either catch up or you're trying to get it before it's gone. And I used to do that. I used to actually, when I first started fasting, we had in our office, we have lunch many days, and then people are always bringing things. So I would go, and in my fast, I'd say, okay, I'm fasting today, and somebody brought, say, cookies, candy, cake, whatever food, and I'd take mine out, and I'd put it in the refrigerator, because that's what I would have eaten that day. And the next time we have something, okay, I'll take that out. So that's what I would have eaten. So because I'm fasting for 3 days, sometimes I have 3 or 4 days worth of food that I would have eaten had I been eaten in the fridge. And then at the end, when I broke my fast, I'm like, man, look at all this stuff I've got. Let me go ahead and let me eat it, or eat some of it from, right? So, because it's in the fridge and I don't want to waste it. That's what I told myself. So then I would go ahead and eat that, and that undid what I did in the fast, because I ended up eating too much of it. Now I won't take that. Right? Not a lot of it. And the way that switched in my head was that one day, one of those times when I collected all the food, I laid it out, and I said, man, is that all that I would have eaten? And not all, but that's what I would eat. That's how much I would have eaten. And something in my brain started clicking. And then it said to me, well, and then you're trying to eat that to make up for what you lost. So you're eating that and you're eating more stuff. So I had to make the switch in my head. It's like, no, I'm not hoarding the food after I fast. It is what it is. Now, if I want some stuff, then I'll go get some, but not just because I fasted and didn't eat it. Why I'm going back now and trying to do all that, right? So the scarcity mindset. And then you want to make sure that you are eating slowly. So when we break a fast, often what we'll do is just shovel it in, because once again, that scarcity mindset, we got to get it. And we think we're hungry, by the way. It's not actual hunger. We think we're hungry. And so we just shovel it in. Now, it takes 20 minutes for the signal from your brain, from your stomach, to get to the brain that says, hey, I'm full. So if you are eating fast, you bypass the ability of your stomach to tell your brain, and you've eaten 2 or 3 times more than you should until it catches up. And by then, you're like, oh, my goodness, oh, look, my stomach is so full and it's stretching, right? So we go through that whole process. It's kind of like the Thanksgiving syndrome. Mm-hmm. All right. So eat slowly, and then avoid sugary processed foods for the reason we just talked about, because sugary processed foods stimulate insulin. Insulin comes out. Insulin makes you have cravings. Insulin makes you put on weight. Insulin causes stiffening of the arteries, and so you have high blood pressure. Insulin causes fatty liver, and then we go on and on and on. Okay, so that's a reason to make sure that we're avoiding all of those things, because they set us up really to have a difficult fast, and sometimes people will say, oh, the fast doesn't work. Well, it's not that the fast doesn't work, it's that what we did around the fast did not set us up for the best possibility of success. Okay, all right, so now let's back up and let's talk about the fast itself. Let's talk about getting into the fast. How do we prepare for the fast? That is very important, because the way we prepare for the fast has a direct impact on how successful the fast is. Give me just a second here. Right, ultimately it has a direct effect on the fast, because what we eat, the very last meal, and if you have been with us, have been watching, you saw me do a check-in where I talked about the meal that I was eating to break the fast. To start my fast, and that was a salad as well. It was, I think, from Chick-fil-A. So that was what I ate. What you eat going into the fast has a profound effect on the fast, because if you eat things that are highly processed, highly sugary, you actually delay the progression to ketosis. The body has to get rid of all that sugar before it gets to fat burning, and so you delay and or interrupt weight loss. Insulin has to stay out because the blood sugars are high, so you interrupt the progress to insulin sensitivity. So basically we're delaying everything, and then let's assume that you fast, let's say 36 hours. Let's do that because that's an easy number. So it takes about 24 to 36 hours for your body to deplete the glycogen, right? That's how long it takes before it can go to fat and burn that to create ketones. So weight loss, insulin sensitivity, all the benefits of ketosis happens at that point. Well, if I have eaten a lot of highly processed, highly sugary stuff, then coming into the fast, the body has to burn all of that up. And because it has to burn all that up, it takes time to burn it up, and then it switches to glycogen in the liver, which takes 24 hours. And just when you are at the point where the body is finally getting rid of glycogen, we end the fast, because that's what we plan to do, and we start eating again. So we never really get into that true space where we want to have, or that we want to have all of the fat burning and all of the benefits. So what I recommend is getting into a fast that you decide on what you're going to eat, that you plan for what you're going to eat, and that you make sure that it doesn't have a lot of high sugar, highly processed foods. We'll talk here in a minute about some of the components of that. Well, let's just do it right here. So proteins and fats, right? So we want proteins, healthy proteins, or healthy fats and lean proteins. Because proteins and fats are important, the protein and the fat will keep you fuller longer. They won't cause spikes in your blood sugar. They'll help produce substances like proteins produce protein YY. The fats will help produce something called cholecystokinin, and both of those slow the GI tract, and they send a signal to the brain that you're full. So if you don't have those as a component of your food that you're eating, then you get into the fast, you don't have the benefits of those. And so the cravings come, and those first 6 hours, people are like, oh man, I'm so hungry, right? Because the blood sugars start to go down, and we sense that as, oh, I need energy. And then we get into the next 12 hours, which is supposed to be the initial fasting stage, but we are still in the postprandial because we've got all this stuff that the body has to process. So minimize processing, minimize the carbs, healthy protein, lean, healthy fast, lean protein, and all of that goes along with what we call balanced bites. Remember, we've talked about balanced bites, and that is what we're looking for. We want to have, and we'll pull that up here. So balanced bites, right? Whole foods, minimize processed foods, no added sugar, lean protein, healthy fats, starchy and non-starchy vegetables, tasty, flavorful, and good portions. Right? So that is the balanced bites, right? Fuel your body with balanced bites. Every bite that you eat counts. Every bite counts. There's nothing that you put in your mouth that doesn't send a signal to your body to do something. Okay? So balanced bites. So as you're doing that, you want to make sure that you are prepared for fasting. And for fasting, when we're preparing for fasting, it's not just a not eating food. There is a mental, there's a psychological, there's a social component that all goes with this, because it's more than just not eating. In fact, when you're fasting, if you're not careful, there are some things that will trigger you. And you heard me talk about being at work and seeing the table with the cookies or candy or whatever somebody brought in, and the triggers are habits, emotions, access, and taste. When we see people get up to go to lunch, when we're at work, when we're fasting, when we see our family, like here we have Taco Tuesday. So when I see my wife making tacos, right, or I come and I sit down with them and they're eating and I'm not eating, I'm not hungry, but just the idea of being there and seeing it and being the habit of eating makes me want to eat. And then of course in the fast, right, if I'm angry, mad, if I'm frustrated, if I'm depressed, and you name the emotion, if that emotion is strong enough, then it will push you away from the fasting. And so we want to make sure that we are dealing with those. So when we say preparing for the fast, it's not just, okay, I'm not going to eat. It's okay, what routines do I normally go through that may cause me some challenges, and how do I navigate those? Are there things within me, feelings, emotions right now, the way I see the world, that can derail me? Because we use food to buffer those. Is there stuff around me, right? So I'm not hungry, I'm not having any emotional issues, but simply, oh my goodness, look at what's around me. Just the visual will sometimes push us to eat. And then of course there's taste, right? We remember how Aunt Sue's dressing, or peach cobbler, or apple pie, or we remember that macaroni and cheese, we remember that cake, we remember that cookie that person made. And so we remember what it did for us, how it made us feel. And so we want to eat it. So preparing for the fast, it's a lot of mental issues, mental things that we've got to deal with. Otherwise, the fast doesn't go well. And once again, we say the fast didn't work, but it's not that the fast didn't work, is that there are all these other things that we've got to take care of. And if we don't, then we get into trouble. Okay? So preparing mentally, physically, and emotionally. So the three ones. You want to allow, when you do this, it allows you to determine milestones. So what are the things that are going to happen, and how do I indicate that, so that I am setting myself up for the best possibility of success, of seeing that, say, okay, this is going to encourage me along the way. Just like when I'm driving, right, there are these mileposts that this is where I am, I'm going to be there. And you're anticipating those. And when they happen, you're like, oh, yeah. So you get another push, get another burst. And say, okay, I can keep going. Right? So that is part of the preparation that you should do as we move into the fast. So how do we prepare? How do we prepare for a fast? So mental, we talked about that. Understanding why we're fasting. What am I going to get? What are the benefits that come to my body? Right? For me, I fast because of improved glycemic control, blood sugars. I fast because of weight loss and weight management. I fast because when I'm fasting, the food noise goes away. When I fast, I seem clearer. My mental faculties are better. My brain is supercharged, right? I get a lot of stuff done when I'm fasting. Probably too much stuff when I'm fasting, okay? So all that happens in the fast. And so the mental preparation is very important because it helps you to decide, okay, what are those things that I have to do? I set clear goals. Number two, when I prepare, I can visualize. What is it going to be like when I finish? Right? As I'm moving through the fast, right? If there are challenges, and I can say, okay, that's where I said I was going to be. So that's what I'm shooting for. This right here, it doesn't feel good, but I'm shooting for that over there. Then we can learn, depending on the type of fast you're doing, a 16-8, 12-12, 24, 1 meal a day, 24-hour, 72-hour, whatever it is, you want to learn about how the fast works, what will happen in your body, what's going to be the switches, the changes, the hormonal regulation, so that it's not a surprise. If you get caught off guard, then the likelihood that you will break the fast goes up. But if you understand the terrain, where you're going, what should happen, what should I expect, then you may see something and you're like, oh, okay, I knew that was going to happen, so I don't need to make any changes. And then some affirmations. Elicit the help of your inner coach. So when we have two people living in us, we got the inner coach, that's our cheerleader, and we got the inner critic. That's the one that says, hey, you didn't do it, you can't do it, you won't do it, you never do it. So we want to give fuel, we've got to give energy to the inner coach. So we want to have affirmations. I am doing this because I'm improving my health. I can finish fasting. I can fast for 72 hours. I have done, right? And so you're giving those affirmations, those mantras to the coach so that when things show up, when things happen, the inner coach gives them back to you and sets you up for success. Yeah? All right, so that's mental preparation. Nutritional preparation, we've answered, and this goes back. If you follow balanced bites, if you follow the balanced bite concept, whole foods, minimize processing, no added sugar, lean protein, healthy fats, starchy, non-starchy vegetables, appropriate portion sizes, and tasty. If you follow that, then preparation for the fast goes well. And the balanced bites is not just, okay, this is what I'm going to do as I prepare for the fast. The balanced bites really is, and it is a component of the health action plan. Because how we eat on our non-fasting days can have a huge impact on what we do in the fast. Okay, so follow balanced bites. So determine specific meal that we use to end the fast, right? Makes sense. Gradually reduce your eating window. So don't say, hey, I'm going to fast for 72 hours and just jump into it if you've never done that. All right, maybe start with a 12 and 12, a 16-8. And you get your fasting window larger until you reach whatever the fasting system that you're going to use, whatever the protocol is that you're going to use in that space. Okay, make sure you're hydrated. Right, clean out your environment, and just some takeaways that I want you to have. So preparation is key. One. Number two, you want to prepare mentally. Right, huge. It is. If I had to pick one area where we say, okay, you got to prepare, it's in the mental. Because a lot of what happens in the fast has to do with that right there. You want to get rest. You want to eat nutrient-dense foods or meals before the fast, balanced bites. And then you want to get in community. You want to get into a space where people can support you, where you can ask questions. Right? We have an amazing community right now. And so this is a great place for you to be, so that as we walk along this process, we are helping each other to be successful. Right, so preparing for the fast. We've already talked about breaking the fast. And then how do we get through the fast and what's going on in the fast itself, right? Remember, those are the three components: preparing for the fast, getting through the fast, and of course, breaking the fast. So what's going on in the fast? And I usually try to break this down to 24-hour periods. We're going to spend some time in the 24 to 36 hour. The others, similar things will happen, but they're more pronounced, which is fine. But postprandial, and you heard me mention this. A lot of times, when people will say to me, "Hey, I fast," and I say, "Well, How long do you fast? And I usually fast for about 6 hours. Well, 6 hours really isn't a fast. Because 6 hours, that's the time from the time you stop eating to the time the body's processed the food. So that process, that's still going on. That's called the postprandial period. This is where blood sugars are high because you've eaten carbs. This is where insulin is high because it has to deal with the blood sugars. This is where the body is breaking the food down and shuttling the components off to different parts. It's storing some in the liver. It's sending some energy to your brain and your muscles and your lung and your heart so that they could function. And then it's taking the excess and it's sending it to the fat cells. All of that's going on in this period. So in this period, there's a highly metabolic active process happening, and people feel energetic because the sugar is high, right? All of that is there. This is the postprandial period. And the next 6 hours is what we call the early fasting stage. So now the body's processed everything, it's sent it where it needs to be, it's stored it, blood sugars are starting to come down, insulin levels are starting to drop. And the body is saying, "Hey, okay, so I need some of the energy that I sent to you for storage. Give it back to me so I can run everything that needs to be run." Okay, and so insulin levels are starting to go down. Glucagon is coming out because remember, glucagon and insulin are opposite. When blood sugars are high, insulin is out. When blood sugars start going down, insulin goes down and glucagon comes out because it's now sending a signal to the other parts of the body, like the liver, and saying, "Hey, give me back some of the things that I gave you before." It's like putting some stuff in the refrigerator. You come in, you cook some food, and you eat some, and you put the rest in the refrigerator. That's the leftovers. And then when you're hungry again, you go back to the refrigerator and say, "Hey, let me get some of that out." So that's what the body's doing. It's put some in the liver, the excess, and now that the blood sugar is dropping, it's saying, going back to the liver and say, "Hey, can you give me back the stuff I just gave you?" Right, glycogenolysis is happening, and that's the process of breaking down the carbs, the glycogen in the liver and sending it back out to the body and in the form of energy. And then the energy levels begin to fluctuate as we're starting to transition now, right? So the body is starting to now say, "Hey, I'm getting down, so blood sugars are starting to go away. Now I'm starting to look at the glycogen in the liver." And that, as we said before, takes about 24 to 36 hours to get depleted. And then we're transitioning to using fat, right, during that process, during that time. And then ketosis begins. This is the 18 to 24 hour period. So ketosis and the decrease of the glycogen from the liver, we say about 24 to 36 hours, but depending on what you ate, it could be longer or it could be shorter, depending on how much processing the body has to do for the sugar that's in your blood. So that's why it's important to make sure you do that. So glycogen stores are starting to go down. This leads a signal for the body to say, "Okay, let's go get some of the stuff out of the liver. Let me start thinking about breaking down fats and starting producing some ketones." And autophagy, that's the cellular cleanup process, begins. The body goes out and it finds broken, damaged, unused, misshapen cells and components, proteins, and it sends them to the recycling bin. The body processes those and then brings it back out as normal, regular, useful parts of itself. So that's the autophagy. Auto means self. Phagy, eating. So it's eating parts of itself and converting those into useful pieces. Now, the beauty of that, or the beauty of autophagy, is that autophagy is a process that takes damaged cells. So if you have damaged cells in your body for whatever disease process, guess what? Autophagy is right there for you. Autophagy improves autophagy improves inflammation. So if you have inflammatory processes, autophagy, great place to do that. Autophagy helps to improve your immunity. Yep, right? So all of those processes happen as we get later into the fast, and it gets supercharged the further we get. So it starts here, but it doesn't stay here. And so we always want to say, we always want to get into autophagy. So that's the ketone. So ketosis begins, that's the 18 to 24 hour period. And then if we move on beyond that, 24 to 36 hours, fat adaptation. This is where the body is in full force now, burning fat, converting it to ketones, and running the body. Energy levels are stable because you have a constant source. With blood sugars, the blood sugars fluctuate, right? Because they go into the liver, they come out of the liver, gluconeogenesis, insulin comes out. With this, the body has a steady source, and it's like clean energy. And there are things that are made from the fat cells, ketones, beta hydroxybutyrate, that will supercharge the brain. So the brain loves that. Your growth hormone comes out during this time. Your muscles love that. So there's this whole thing called fasting workouts where you are fasting and you're working out, doing bodybuilding. And that's great because during fasting, you have great elevated growth hormone, and that helps to preserve muscle. It helps you to recover, right, better. So in weightlifting, what you're doing is you're actually tearing muscles, right? You're causing damage. And the growth hormone helps to make that process of repair much faster. So you recover faster when you fast during a fasting workout. Okay? So all that's going on. And then the energy levels stabilize, as we mentioned before, because here, now this is a clean source of energy. All right, so that's preparing for the fast, getting through the fast, and breaking the fast. All of the components, all of the phases are super, super important. You can't say, okay, I'm gonna prepare for the fast well, I'm gonna get through the fast, and then I'll just do whatever I want at the end, because that undoes a lot of the stuff that you did before. You can't say, you know what, I'm just gonna run into the fast, do the fast, and then break it later, because what you didn't prepare for can have significant consequences in the fast. And of course, if you don't understand the fast, what's happening in your body, what's supposed to happen, how I'm supposed to treat myself during the fast, then that sets you up for difficulty as well. So each component just as important as all the others. And so fasting is an amazing process. Fasting hits all three of the pillars. We decrease insulin, we suppress appetite, and we reduce sugar. And those are the components of reversing diabetes, and those are the things that we talk about when we talk about getting rid of diabetes and improving our metabolism, right? So three pillars: decrease insulin, suppress appetite, and reduce sugar. And fasting hits every single one of those. And here's the thing: you want to hear? Here, listen. Fasting is free. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to go anywhere. Just at your house, right there, right now, you can make a decision. I'm going to fast. And so I encourage everyone, unless you fall into a couple of categories, right? Unless you are a child, unless you are pregnant or nursing mom, unless you've had some eating disorder, or unless you are specifically told by your doctor that, hey, there's this reason you can't fast. Either you're taking medication for whatever reason. Everyone else should be able to fast. So check with your doctor. I say, always check with your doctor. Say, hey, I'm interested in fasting. Is there any reason why I shouldn't fast? Any reason why I can't fast? And move through that process. Because fasting is amazing. It helps us to do all the things that we just talked about. It improves metabolism. It decreases our insulin, improves our insulin sensitivity. It helps us with weight. It helps us with blood sugar, helps us with blood pressure, helps us with cholesterol, helps us with fatty liver, helps us with obesity. All amazing. And it all comes from fasting. So make sure you get out there and you start fasting. Limitless Living says that I'm going to do that. I'm doing whatever I need to do. And if I need to fast to make this improvement, I'm going to do that. Awesome. All right, so just a reminder that everything that we do is based on our Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, we encourage. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcasts. All of that there is with the intention of changing our mindset. We are trying to develop a growth mindset. that says I can improve. I can, by making choices, by making decisions, by being consistent, I can chart the course of my health. Number two, we empower. We empower with the tools that we're using. The Health Action Plan is a blueprint of tools that you get to use. They say, if I follow this path, if I go down this journey, then I can reverse my diabetes, improve my metabolism, right my metabolism, and get off of some of those medications. That's right. And then we encourage. Encouragement comes from you, first of all, right? Because you've got to do some encouragement for yourself. The mantras that we do, the things that we tell ourselves, the thoughts that we have, the verbiage we use for ourselves. We got to encourage ourselves. I can do this. I am improving my metabolism. I'm doing what I need to do to take charge of my health. Encourage ourselves. And then the community that you're a part of, the community that is here. We have a great community. If you've not joined us yet, make sure you join us. Right below there should be a button that says join. Amazing group of people. Amazing. I am part of that community, and I get benefit. I get encouragement from them as we move through this space. We get to encourage each other. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. And when you show up, I want you to make sure that you are doing what you need to do to be involved. The things that we learn are only theory until you infuse them with your behavior, with your action. So don't just let them be videos. I love the fact that you're listening. I love the fact that you're watching. But now let's put some action to it. And then be a voice for improvement in the community and ultimately in the world. Because there are so many people, over 1 billion people on the planet, pre-diabetes, diabetes, who need to know that they can do better. And you can be an example for them in how you live, how you change, how your body looks. And you can say to them, hey, this is what I did. Because as dysregulated, as imperfect, as flawed as your journey has been, your journey is exactly the answer to somebody's question. So don't keep it to yourself. Let them know, hey, let's go do this. Let's do it. Bring them to the channel. Come with them. Watch the playlist. We have all the playlists that are on there on the channel. We have the 100-Day Walk to Consistency. We have the Bridge to Mastery. We have the Strength, Strategy, and Mindset series that's going on right now. How to reverse diabetes. How to fast successfully. How to, the art of letting go. All of that is on the channel, and you get access to that just by showing up. Hey, I'm always excited when I'm here with you. Glad to be in this space because it really encourages me, and I'm loving seeing what changes and benefits you're getting as you're walking through this path. Tomorrow, we'll be back with video from the vault at 9 p.m. Central. On Sunday morning, 6 a.m., This Week in Review. And then on Monday, we'll be back in the space as we continue limitless living and we walk through the Health Action Plan, that blueprint that allows you to reverse your diabetes, improve your metabolic health, and move into a space where you are successful. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Have a great weekend. We'll see you in the space, and we'll see you on Monday for Dwain Woode MD Live. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.